If Mr. Putin wasn't hosting Obama and everybody else at the G20 right now and he was listening to this, he would be even more convinced that he'd been making the right choice all along for months on end to just stand firm on no intervention in Syria. I mean, the thing that he's most interested in is not keeping Assad per se. You're absolutely right on that. And he's actually said that recently in a number of interviews. You know, he's been out and about all over the place recently, expressing his thoughts that he'd previously kept somewhat behind wraps. And he's made it very clear that it's not about Assad. That's not the end game in Syria. What is the end game is making sure that we're not going to see yet another massive mess on the map. Now, we would argue we're already there. But Putin thinks, and if he was listening to this, he'd think even more, that we can make it a whole lot worse than it already is. And he is facing in the next year the withdrawal of the United States from Afghanistan. And ironically, he would like us still to be there. This is actually one area where Putin actually was quite relieved that the US was in. Admitted he didn't want us to come out all crowned in victory. He liked the idea that we were bogged down, but he thought we might be bogged down there in some kind of way in which we would stay, not that we would be heading out like the Soviet Red Army headed out a couple of decades previously. Now he looks at Syria and he thinks, a US intervention, and just like Jeremy, he doesn't probably spend every day thinking about US interventions, but he spent a lot of time looking at them over the last 20 years and before when he was in the KGB, studying what the US was up to. He doesn't also think that the US interventions have ever come up with anything that's beneficial to Russia, let alone to the United States. So his one goal in all of the activity that we've seen in Syria has to be preventing or restraining the US from intervention, because he doesn't know where the end game is going to go. And he would much rather have Bashar al-Assad with all of his problems in place and keeping some semblance of control than the complete chaos that Putin thinks that he's seen in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and in Libya.